I really didn't want to make this video, but at this point I think that it really doesn't matter if I make it or not, as long as I don't share it in certain places anyway. But, see, I never liked Toon. I mean, that is to say, at first I was completely oblivion to his existence, but eventually I discovered that his falling out with Minty Root, and well, I realized that those two really aren't the best people. Like, I did know Minty Root sort of before, because I was in the Rift Cafe Discord server at the time, but I barely knew the guys still even then, but, like, after that, got a very negative opinion of both of them, honestly. And eventually, I once, uploaded a video that was, like, just basically getting on the bandwagon of the cartoons thing what was it, my message, hashtag my message. Like, I uploaded that to my own channel, which I removed at some point, I guess after I realized that Toon wasn't a good person. But, like, that whole Minty Root thing, that's what really got me to regret that, I guess, and just, I learned that Toon was not a good person. Because neither of them were being mature or, anywhere near decent people about that whole situation. And frankly, I think that, like I've said before, that the Rift Cafe and Secret Rift and just the Bronalysis community in general seems to be a bit far too forgiving of the things that people do sometimes. And I guess it takes a crime for people to draw the line sometimes. And not just, I mean, there was the case where Fallen Wish committed a far smaller crime, but I guess that was enough for them to oust her again, but I don't know, honestly. It's just... And then I heard about the accusations of him being a pedophile, and I raised my eyebrow because I'm like, well, this seems like one of the easiest way to take a person down a peg. I'm not gonna lie, I was very uncertain, even though I didn't like him. I felt like this was just a scheme or something, but then I saw the video that got leaked, where he was in the Skype call, and I guess he tried to pass it off as not big of a deal while still generally sort of implying that he did do it or something. Like, it seemed like he didn't deny that he'd been talking to this person, so that kind of killed all the skepticism I had on the matter. Yeah, this whole thing is just a prime example of how much people in the community just seem to be far too tolerant. They allowed this to happen. That's the thing, is that even though they had no way of knowing that he was doing that sort of thing, they should have ousted him a long time ago. In fact, I think that one of them just even said that he had done something worse. I don't know. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but the fact of the matter is that they shouldn't have allowed things to reach this level. He had made so many mistakes, and they just forgave him for them. They forgave him for them. Why? Why do they keep forgiving him? Why? This isn't something that you can just be supporting, okay? He made mistakes, so are you going to try to help him change, or are you just going to let him keep making mistakes? I don't know if they did help him or not, and they certainly didn't try to help Jordan when, he was Brick Brony, and they just kicked him out, even though that, the entire reason he was harassing them is because he didn't even know better. The guy legit did not know better. He was taught as a kid to, always respond to people immediately, and he didn't even realize how that doesn't really translate to online chats, through instant messaging. Because, it's not always instant if the person on the other end isn't there. I don't think he quite got that, and apparently the people in the Secret Rift didn't realize that he didn't know that, I guess, but you have to help people through their problems. You can't just let them keep making mistakes. Because if you keep letting them make mistakes, they're never going to improve. Especially if they don't improve and they just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. And, the thing is that ToonKritic is not ToonKritic. ToonKritic's real personality is cartoons, at least from my perspective. Because it just seems like he's not a nice person. He left some nasty comments on the Rift Cafe YouTube channel before, and it's like, he wasn't even in the cartoon's persona when he did that. He just left these nasty comments. I'm like, so, it's true then. That is his true personality. It's like, he can't be doing this sort of thing and just be getting away with it. He can't. He's just flaunting his ego all over the place in front of us. It's disgusting. Why did they allow him to do things like that? Did they even know he was doing things like that? I would certainly think so, because the guy just always came across as this egotistical attention seeker to me. At least after I discovered his existence. I mean, like, the whole cartoon saga, it just seemed like he was lying about the whole thing, that cartoons used to be who he was. But in reality, cartoons was who he was all the time, and ToonKritic wasn't the real him. I mean, even to the very end, he kept trying to manipulate his friends, claiming, well, this isn't the real me, this isn't the real me, you know this isn't the real me. No, that is the real you. That is the real you. That is the person that you really are, Toon, because this is the whole thing. Everything you've done up until that point led up to this, and you kept trying to manipulate them. And they had previously let themselves be manipulated, and probably will continue to allow themselves to be manipulated by people just like him. And you know what? That's just sad. People need to stop trusting people who are just airheaded and arrogant the way he was. It's... Why do you trust these people? Just because you want them to be your friends? Just because you're trying to promote some love and tolerate thing? Which doesn't even make sense, because, like, the Secret Rift, people in there tend to be, like, against the idea of other people being in the same community as them. Not all of them, not all of them, of course, but, like, people like him, and eventually, it's like, what's the point of trying to still be his friend after all those previous things he's done? After the Minty Root incident. Especially after the Minty Root incident. What were you thinking, allowing him to continue being your friend after what he had done? Just... are you really that naive, people? You allowed this to happen. You have no one else but yourselves to blame for allowing this situation to happen. I'm sorry, but not the fact that ToonKritic did what he did, but the fact that you were at all connected to it. You disowned him then, and only then. But your reputations depend on the people you associate with. And because you associated with him, a complete asshole, your reputations were being damaged already before this happened. Before that happened. And it's not just him, it's a couple of other people in the Secret Rift too. I don't understand how anyone could have allowed this to happen. To be friends with him up until that point. How could you do that? You were friends with someone who was secretly committing acts of pedophilia, and you could have stopped being friends with him before that. Because he was just showing all the signs of sociopathy. He was showing every last possible sign of sociopathy. How could you not realize that? I am just so very ticked off with not just Toon, but this community as a whole. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You shouldn't have allowed this whole public incident to happen. It could have happened in his own little bubble, completely separate from the Rift, completely separate from the Bronalysis community, completely separate from the secret Rift. But no, you just had to keep being his friend and let things get to this point. I'm just repeating myself now, aren't I? This whole thing disgusts me, every last bit of it. Until next time, don't trust anyone.